What is up, guys? This is Mateo's 2020 Politics here, and today we are back for a new video. So, in case you didn't hear, yesterday Congress passed the stimulus bill finally. We've been waiting for, 8 months? 9 months? Around there. But there was only $600. So that means your average American, when even before the pandemic, 80% of Americans were living paycheck to paycheck, 50% we're making $30,000 a year or less. Now we're in a pandemic, it's probably way worse. There's only going to be $600 given to every American. That makes no sense. I don't think I have to explain. I think you guys already know my opinion. You know I'm a staunch progressive. We should have had 2,000. Now, back in March, it was 1,200. That was the official number, but that wasn't actually what happened. But when you actually received the money, lots of it was missing. There were loopholes. It wasn't even 1,200 back in March, right? So that was the compromise. Now we're compromising on a compromise. That's what's going on here. They're not going to give us Medicare for all. So at the very least, what you could say is, all right, $600 stimulus bill, that's okay, but we'll give you unemployment benefits. We'll give you Medicare for all. Nancy Pelosi was the original person to say 600. You know, before the presidential election results came in, Donald Trump had agreed to 1,200. 1,200. So she literally cut the stimulus bill in half. The amount of money that would be going to every working American, you, your family, your neighbor's family, myself, my family, cut in half by Nancy Pelosi. So it just goes to show that these politicians are not out there to help you, because she literally just cut the price and nobody's talking about this. You hear news articles coming out and talking about those damn Republicans when it was her who did this. It was her idea. And then the rest of the Democrats in the House just go along with it and they act like it's the Republicans' fault. That's what the progressives did. That's what AOC did, what Pramila Jayapal did. They blamed it on the Republicans. It's just a shame, man. I mean, Donald Trump was to the left of Nancy Pelosi on this. He would have given us more money than Nancy Pelosi. And I think that just goes to show, and it finally proves the theory, although it's a fact, that Nancy Pelosi doesn't give a shit about us. She couldn't care less about us. We don't concern her. We aren't her corporate donors. We aren't Wall Street, so she doesn't care about us. Why would she care about us, right? So she can get away with whatever she wants, because no matter what she does, like with what she did now, which is incredibly cruel, cutting the price, no matter what she does, the media lets her get away with it. She gets a free pass. Is CNN talking about this? Is MSNBC condemning Pelosi for cutting the stimulus bill in half? No. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all those politicians, they can do whatever they want and get away with it because the media is not going to cover them. And they know the media is not going to cover them. The Republicans shouldn't be getting criticized. The Democrats should. Now, if you're a first-time viewer, if you're watching my videos for the first time, chances are you probably think I'm a Republican by what I'm saying. I'm not. I'm actually a staunch progressive. I'm a staunch Bernie supporter. I'm just not a partisan hack. I'm able to call out both parties, and brutally so. If a Republican does something bad, I call them out. If a Democrat does something wrong, I call them out. That's just the way it works. So Nancy Pelosi cutting the stimulus bill in half, I'm just calling her out for that. I'm not defending the Republicans. Now, don't get it wrong. The main reason why people are dying from the pandemic, the main reason why people are dying during this pandemic is because of medical costs. Look at the United Kingdom. They have single-payer healthcare, aka Medicare for all. So does Canada. So does the rest of the developed world. The majority of countries in the rest of the world. These countries have single-payer healthcare, universal healthcare. Everyone has it. You're guaranteed affordable healthcare. They've been way better off. The main reason people are dying is not because of Trump or because of his lies. I'm sure that accounts for maybe 25%. But I do firmly believe that the cause of the vast majority of American deaths from COVID-19 is our capitalist system. I mean, our system was set up for disaster. We have a system where the 1% thrives, the bottom 99% suffers. That's just the way it works. So we were set up for disaster, for an absolute catastrophe, and that's what happened. So don't blame Trump, blame him a bit, because he did lie a lot. I don't really think his lies would affect the overall population, just like a certain amount of his hardcore base that would never leave him ever, even if he nuked the entire world. Those types of people I'm talking about. They probably got tricked. But for everyone else, I'm sure they died because of our corrupt capitalist system. So in case if you haven't heard about the hashtag Force to Vote movement, basically progressives all across the country want 10 House Democrats, just 10. I'll get into why that number is important later, to pressure Nancy Pelosi into holding a floor vote on Medicare for all. And if she doesn't do that, they will not vote for her as speaker. Now I know what you're thinking. Mateo, didn't she already win the speakership? No, she won her party speakership. She's up against the Republican Kevin McCarthy. Now the Democrats only have a majority of 10 seats in the House. So if 10 Democrats are like, hey Pelosi, you better support and you better pledge to hold the floor vote on Medicare for all, or else she's going to be scared. She's going to want to keep that status as speaker. She's not going to risk that. So again, they want 10 Democrats, primarily ones that are in favor of Medicare for all, to threaten Pelosi into holding a floor vote on Medicare for all. And if she doesn't, they would boycott the vote. They would not vote for her. They would sit it out, and most likely the Republican would win. Now, I know what you're thinking. Mateo, you just said it yourself. A Republican would win. So is this really the best tactic? No, the entire point of this plan is that the Republican could win. It would make Nancy Pelosi fear that scenario and therefore want to hold a vote on Medicare for all, right? Like, if a Republican winning speakership wasn't a threat, then there'd be no point in this plan whatsoever. Like, the entire point of the plan is to make Nancy Pelosi fear that she could lose her speakership spot, and so she can be pressured into holding a floor vote on Medicare for all. So, please, if you have a Twitter account, go to any post of AOC's and just comment what I said. Tell her to withhold her vote for Nancy Pelosi unless she publicly pledges to hold a floor vote on Medicare for all. Do that, and that's what many people are doing already. They're commenting on her tweets. Is she going to do it? Well, right now she's insisting that she won't do it. She has been replying to tweets saying, what if a Republican wins? Blah, 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 blah. No, we elect you to Congress to fight for Medicare for all. You're not doing that. You need to do it. The entire point of a movement is to pressure politicians and to force policies to be passed. You are not doing that right now, AOC, and you need to do that. It's just a sad factor, man. I mean, she ran such a progressive campaign. DC changed her. It turned her into an opportunist. And now it's gotten to the point where she's unwilling to give Americans health care. Affordable health care during a pandemic, a global pandemic that has left 300,000 Americans minimum dead from COVID-19. She could help prevent people from dying in the future from medical bills and medical bankruptcy. She, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, the rest of the squad, they can do that. And they're not doing that. So we need to make them do that. So go to AOC's Twitter account and demand that she withhold her vote from Nancy Pelosi unless she promises to hold a floor vote on Medicare for all. That's what she needs to do. This is politics 101. You have to pressure politicians to get stuff done. You have to force things to be passed. This is not radical. This is common sense. There's no reason whatsoever to not support this. This is a common sense position. We elected AOC and all these progressives to Congress to fight for Medicare for all. Now is the time to fight for it, especially since we're in a pandemic. And this is possible. There are 10 Democrats in favor of Medicare for all in Congress. I can name them right now. I'll just name 10 off the top of my head. AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Representative-elect Jamal Bowman, Representative-elect Cori Bush, Troy Garcia, Katie Porter, Ro Khanna. I've always had trouble lifting just one of these fingers. And Pramila Jayapal, and some more. There's an 11th, Raul Grijalva. So many. There are lots of Congress people who are in favor of Medicare for all. So we have the votes to get this done. We can get 10 House Democrats to threaten to withhold their votes from Pelosi unless she promises to hold a floor vote on Medicare for all. We can do that. And especially when people are dying in a pandemic, which is a health crisis, and people are going bankrupt, going homeless, suffering, witnessing family members die. Now is the time to act. Now is the time to do this. We didn't get the stimulus bill passed, but we can get this passed. We can try. Now, the one thing that kills movements is pessimism. So don't be like, oh, Mateo, it's not going to happen. They're not going to fight for us. Woohoo, there's no point. Let's give up. No, if we have that mentality, then we're never going to get this passed. We're never going to pressure these politicians into doing what we want. So right now, if we harass the hell out of AOC, it is necessary to harass her. People's lives are on the line. To withhold her vote from Pelosi unless she pledges to hold a floor vote on M4A, Medicare for All. This is possible. Like, we could do that. We just have to really, really put an enormous amount of pressure on her, and then she'll get this done. Because she doesn't want to get primaried. She wants to remain popular among the base, among her progressive base. Look, I'm sorry for the nihilistic tone, but we are currently witnessing people from both sides of the aisle, with the exception of just a couple, refusing to give us 1,200 or even 2,000 monthly payments, recurring payments. And when people are getting unemployed, when people are losing their jobs, it's common sense to do this, and they're not. So the only way to make up for this, the only way to make up for this stimulus bill, which is just utter trash, is to pressure these politicians that pass Medicare for All. Go to AOC's Twitter. Pressure her to do this. Pressure other progressives to do this. Pressure Mark Bocan or anyone else. This is Mateo's 2020 Politics here. See you tomorrow.